CBS affiliate there. I am not seeing wording, verbiage about a police report, whether or not one was filed or not. I'm not seeing it one way or the other. Now, just because the media doesn't have it in their story doesn't mean something did or did not happen. I think we've all figured that out by now, right? That sometimes it's like, just get the story out. We can update it later. We can do a lot of that. And so, but I'm not seeing it one way or the other day. That is an interesting question. If you feel as if you're going to the school and you've exhausted that and they're not helping you, do you not maybe at least call the non-emergency police number like, hey, I don't know if this is really a thing for you guys or not, but I feel as if this is going unanswered. I don't know. It's my kid. I'm worried, obviously, like any other parent would be. Is there, what steps can I take? What's at my disposal here? And I think it's an interesting point. You know, again, a lot of people were looking to victim blame the parents by saying, if you knew this was happening, why did you keep sending the kid back to school? Apparently, they claim it's about something that happened. I think it's the week before his untimely death happened. There was an incident. They keep referring to an incident in the bathroom. They don't really get in depth of what that incident was, but apparently he did not want to go to school after it. I was in a situation like this in high school where like there was some threats and there were some things happening and I was a little nervous to go to school and there were some things, and sure enough, I ended up getting jumped in a situation over some, drama and some rumors and all that stuff. I was, older and I was, in high school and able to deal with something that a little differently. I had been picked on as a kid. As I struggled with my weight and all of that kind of stuff. Obviously not at this level. Somebody had asked the question yesterday in the comment sections, how does a 10-year-old even know to do this? And James said to me, he goes, this is uncomfortable, man. He's like, but you asked the question, so I'm going to answer it. He goes, I think it's about the bullies, right? He's like, don't they say things to you like you should just kill yourself? Nobody likes you. You would be better off dead. Well, we don't know what the bully said, but are those commonly used phrases in bullying? My guess would be yes there. I've heard those from people, right? I've heard that happen. I don't think that's necessarily crazy, James. I think the original question that the original poster had about it is, how do they know the method? How do they know that? It's like, well, I mean, there's plenty of entertainment that has this subject matter in it. People have been telling you for years, we got to talk about it more in entertainment so kids are aware of what's out there and we're aware of what's going on. And it's like, all right, but it also opens the door for a kid to be thinking about this type of thing that maybe they weren't before. I also said it's a 10-year-old. Do 10-year-olds have cell phones?
Morning.
I bet a lot of them do. And
got a new video up on the channel.
I took this, was like, my kids are 11, 12, and 13.
Feel free to go ahead and check that out.
We have a home cell phone, and that if they go somewhere to play, they may take that with them. They don't have their own cell phone.
Got some more stuff coming up here later this week.
He says, I have Life 360 on it. You guys would have to help me. I'm not a parent. I'm unaware about what Life 360 is. I'll do a little research on that. I apologize. He says they have Life 360 on it, but they must ask to take the phone with them. It's
Please
sad what
give
happens
us a
to these
like and
kids in school. They
subscribe.
don't need the phones. They could read the books.
Share the channel, share the
Thank you,
content.
Morgan. I appreciate that. I think more kids should be reading books. I would not disagree with that. I think it's tough to tell a kid no. Not that it's impossible. Tough and impossible are not the same thing. They're not. And I would agree with that. That's an interesting point, though, about not having the phones. And, I said I was like, bring a lot of, interaction to it. This got said to me, and honestly, I feel bad saying this in this story that is so honestly heartbreaking. But somebody who writes into me every day and I mean never, not one time come close to saying anything remotely intelligent, has landed the plane finally after 5 years. I cannot believe this. I honestly, I hate the fact that I have to give this person credit. But he said to me, and this is true, he goes, we always talk about cell phones and problems, being a problem in school cell phones. We always make it about the students' problem. He goes, how many of these teachers are sitting around on social media avoiding what's happening in the classroom? Avoiding what's happening in the classroom? Can't believe it.
Hello.
Like I said, dude, that is the first remotely intelligent thing that person has ever said. Shocked by that. Most of you guys are great. This person is an insufferable douche, and I cannot believe they landed that plane. Pat, well done, buddy. I may unblock you from the other services now after that one. You'll finally find it. Jeremy's telling me Life 360 is a tracking app, GPS location app. Yeah, see, that's
I need to deposit 105 into my checking.
Need for it, as I'm not a parent, it's not necessarily my thing. Brock thinks this is a lot about social media. These kids today know things way more in advance than we did at their age. I only pause there, Brock, because this is what I'm going to say. Is that something we think is true today, and we were more aware? I mean, right, we knew things our parents didn't think we knew at certain ages, right? They're always a little bit further out than we think kids are. Your kids probably are, that whole thing. This is a weird sentence. I almost wish I knew when the word suicide came into my mind as something as a serious nature versus just a word I heard adults use.
Got it on
for some reason, it's impossible for me to separate that word from Ozzy Osbourne's Suicide Solution. It was such a big song, and people shouldn't have it. And oh my God, kids are going to kill their parents and all of this stuff. And so, like, I kind of feel like that's where that word entered my dialogue, right? Like that's kind of where that happened. I'm interested. I want to know more about Life 360. A lot of you guys are writing in about this now. I appreciate that because I didn't know a damn thing about it before that. And so I think parents would probably be well advised to have a little bit more of a tracking device, whether it be in the car, the phone, or whatever. You know, people can call it spying. I always say go into your kid's room and snoop through. It's not snooping. It's called parenting. It's your job to know what those kids are doing while they're living underneath that roof. It's your job to know what they're doing well after that too. But like people say, my kids deserve their independence. What I would say, and I know I'm not a parent, so maybe I shouldn't say anything about it at all. But my thing there is the risk is too high. When the payoff is their independence at 10 years old, I'm sorry, for me, that risk is too high. We did get the NFL schedule released. Let's swim back to the shallow end of the pool next here on the Stansbury Show. 9 a.m. this morning, why Aaron Rodgers refuses to watch online pornography. I'm not sure I believe him, but okay. Dude, NFL quarterbacks don't need porn, man. They have all the chicks. Plenty of them have talked about their pornography addiction, so I think that might not hold up in court. And by court, I mean public opinion. But we'll get there at 9. You have to talk a little football now as the NFL schedules came out yesterday. Now, this is what's interesting about the NFL. They tell you who the opponents are 2 months ago. And you kind of play the win-loss game. But when you play a team and where you play them can matter. Absolutely. So we knew the Browns were starting with the Cowboys. That's September 8th, 4:25 game. Tom Brady, first game on the call, which, by the way, they have demoted... oh my God, Greg Olsen. Thank God I remembered. To the B team. A lot of people say, oh, of course, Tom Brady's a star. He's going to bring in the casual viewer. I think maybe the first game or two. I don't think most people watch games for announcers. You prefer an announcer over that one, but if you want to watch the game, you're not turning it off because of an announcer. And I don't think anybody's watching a game they didn't want to watch because of an announcer. You may check it to see if he's any good at it. I don't think he's necessarily going to drive ratings just because he's Tom Brady every single week. I think exactly what happened to Tony Romo is going to happen to Tom Brady. The first 2 seasons, people are going to love it, and then you're going to realize he's ruining a little too much of the magic for you. There's a little too much information. Now he kind of sucks. He's not taking it as seriously as we think he should. It's over. They're going to love him for 2 years, and then after that, they're going to be dumping on Tom Brady about how terrible he is at it. Put a pin in that. I'm going to be right on that one. But the Browns open up at home against the Cowboys. I think my gut says say win. The only thing that has me thinking loss is history of the Cleveland Browns. Oh no, are they really going to turn it around? But I don't like going against my gut. Win week 1. You're on the road week 2 at Jacksonville. I'm going to say you win in Jacksonville. You're 2-0 to start the season. Then you come back home week 3, September 22nd, 1 p.m. game for the Giants. This feels like the perfect trap game for the Browns. You're feeling yourself. You beat a couple of decent teams. Next thing you know, you start looking past the teams you should be able to beat. You'll have a classic Browns game, lose to the Giants. Then you're 3 road games in a row here. After the Giants, week 4 is on the road in Vegas, 425 to face the Raiders. You will beat the Raiders. You will bounce back after losing to the Giants. Then you have Washington. That is on the road as well, October 6th. We don't really know what Washington is going to be yet. I'm going to say the Browns win here. This is the game people are going to think I'm crazy. Sunday, October 13th, on the road, 1 p.m. at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Browns get to their 5th win on the road. Yes, I just have them winning 3 road games in a row. That may end up having me looking a little foolish. We shall see. God knows I've gotten crazy with some predictions in the past. Week 7, you're at home now against the Bengals. I do think you probably lose that game if Joe Burrow is healthy. Then you got the Ravens. I'm going to mark you down. You lose that game at home against the Ravens. Back-to-back losses. Then week 9, it's the Chargers. They got a pretty good roster. The coaching problem has been their issue. Can Harbaugh get it turned around by week 9 for a road game with Herbert to come into Cleveland to get the win? I think maybe yes is that answer. You then get your bye at week 10. Then on the road at New Orleans, I'll give you your 6th win there. You're then home at Pittsburgh. You win your 7th game there. On the road at Denver, Browns trap game, you lose. On the road at Pittsburgh, I think they beat them twice this year. Then you get Kansas City at home, you will lose. On the road at the Bengals now. You win on the road. At home against the Dolphins, I think you probably win that game. On the road at Baltimore, I think you probably lose that game. So what do I have here? 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 wins. And 5, I have them. That's about where I have it. I think this schedule, people tell me it's difficult. I think it's somewhat favorable. Now, I did have you winning week 2 on the road at Jacksonville. That, of course, because of the Trevor Lawrence pullback that we've seen a little bit. If they can get him to turn around and get him headed in the right direction, we'll see there. It's a quarterback-driven league. That game you could maybe swap there would be they lose in Jacksonville, then win at home against the Giants. That one just feels like a total trap game for the Cleveland Browns for me. Rock the bank with me at 9. Grab that first $1,000 key rate. You can text the studio at 330-450-7625. I'm on your socials at The Stansbury Show. We've been talking about the Browns schedule. That came out yesterday as the NFL schedules did. I rechecked my math here. I have the Browns at 9-8, which I don't think is crazy. I'll try to remember this the best I can. I have them winning week 1 at Dallas at home, and then on the road I had them winning at Jacksonville. I figured the back home week 3 for the Giants would be the typical Browns trap game, looking past an opponent they should beat, and they lose. Then you're on the road for the next 3 weeks at the Raiders, at Washington, at Philadelphia. I had you winning all 3 of those games. That is a lofty goal for a team to go on the road 3 games in a row and win. Then you had the Bengals back home, Ravens back home, Chargers at home. That's going to be a very interesting game. I'm interested to see how Harbaugh and Herbert come together, especially getting pretty deep into the season at that point, week 9. They should have it gelling, right? Then you get your bye week 10. Then you're at New Orleans. I figured you'd win that. Pittsburgh's week 12, that at home. Then you're on the road at Denver. I felt like that's another trap game for the Browns. I feel like you beat Pittsburgh twice this year at their place and ours. Kansas City at home, you'll get routed. Now that's just, welcome to the Super Bowl champs, and there's a little bit of that in there. On the road at Cincinnati after the Chiefs game. That I don't love. That's a tough matchup there. Then you get Miami, that at home on the 29th of December. And still be determined. It will be the Ravens to end the season out. And we'll find out when and where that is. People were saying yesterday that this is a very tough schedule. I don't know how. I don't think it's necessarily that tough. Bengals Ravens back-to-back home games, week 7 and 8. That's pretty wild there. And then, like I said, you're getting a huge home game again, where a lot of people are going to be interested in because of the Harbaugh factor. And let's see if Herbert can finally get it all the way put together. That in week 9. That's a pretty interesting stretch of games right there. Bengals Ravens back-to-back is going to be tough. Now, I'm going into that opinion is what? Joe Burrow staying healthy. You know, that's going to be the thing. We know it's a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have your quarterback, good luck. Although the Browns used, 4 or 5 of them last year, still made the playoffs. And so, again, if Deshaun stays healthy, big if in that sense. Only one if in that sense, June. But, that's a big if. Because he has not necessarily been the most healthy guy, right? He has had some injury, come on, that one's a little unfortunate, right? There's a little bit of that. But if he gets it back together and he plays well, there's no reason why this team can't get real hot this year. Right? Now, I think one of the things that can happen is people bought a little too far into the Baker Browns. Remember, it was like they're not taking it seriously, and then all of a sudden the national media started to really bite in on the Browns, and then they got exposed. Right? And I said, you're going to have to really be good again before anybody starts to warm up to you. They fell for it last time. It didn't really pan out. National coverage isn't going to be a thing until they actually see you really do it, right? I think if he comes back and he's healthy, he plays the good bulk of the year. It's a 17-game season. Let's say Deshaun's on the field for 14 games. I like your chances. Now, what do I like your chances at? I mean, it's the AFC. A lot of people think the AFC North is one of the hardest divisions in football. I would have my hand raised as one of those. Even when Pittsburgh's not good, it's still they find a way to be scrappy, right? They just do. They find a way to be scrappy. We'll see what Russell Wilson does there, or Justin Fields. I guess it depends on what happens. I'm imagining Russell will probably start the good portion of those games unless he can't play, and then they move to Fields. I'm not saying that won't happen. That could maybe happen. But they can find a way to be scrappy. So, what do I like your odds at? Being a playoff team. Now, plenty of teams make the playoffs and then fall out of that the next year. And a lot of people around the league and a lot of roundtable shows, Howard being one of them, has the Browns as that team. As they were a playoff team last year. You'll see some regression. They're not going to be great. He also puts no stock whatsoever into Deshaun Watson. He doesn't feel as if you're going to ever see him play good quarterback ever again. Plenty of you feel that way. I am choosing to be a little bit more optimistic on that. I would admit to you that if we were talking about Deshaun Watson, the Raider, am I having the same opinion about him being able to come all the way back, or am I as hopeful on that? Maybe not. I think anybody who's waiting for him to be a top 5 guy in the league, that's going to be a long wait. I think those days may be over. Top 10 to 12 guy, I think there's absolutely one of those guys. And we better hope so, because that's what you're going to need. Again, assuming Burrow stays healthy, assuming Russell Wilson has a halfway decent year. Although, look out for a guy like Justin